Sometimes life takes an interesting and unexpected turn. It certainly did for the couple you're about to meet. That's because an unusual birthday gift took these folks down a Tennessee country road.
Sometimes this old farm seems like a long-lost friend.
Jim Tanner had no idea how prescient the words to this song would be until he and his wife, Gail,
There we go. There we go.
packed up everything they owned, including nearly a dozen goats, and moved from the hustle and bustle of Northern California to the quiet solitude of Middle Tennessee. Goats have been a part of Gail's life after receiving one as a birthday present in her 20s.
We knew the lifestyle that we had with the goats and such was going to start to be more and more limited, so it was time to go.
It also came at a time when the Tanners were getting serious about breeding goats and creating an agricultural business. So they chose this remote spot with more than 100 acres of pastures, woods, and a babbling brook to build Bonnie Blue Farm.
We owned the property for about 4 years before we moved here. So during those 4 years, we would come back periodically and work on this and that and the other thing. And it was kind of like our vacation. Typically, we came back at Christmas time.
So when the retired couple arrived for good in 1999, they first built this barn to house their goats. They then added Saanen and Nubian goats to the herd. The Saanens for their higher milk production, the Nubians for higher butterfat content. And with the larger herd in place, Gail saw an opportunity.
Well, if you're going to have more goats, then you have to have something to do with the milk.
And that's where this modern-day milking parlor comes into play. They had the milk, so why not make farmstead cheese? Gail hand-milked some of the goats. That liquid is placed in a small container which is later used to feed the baby goats, called kids. The rest of the milk is collected by automatic pumps to cool for up to 72 hours. When it's time to make cheese, Jim transfers the milk out of the tank into stainless steel containers that end up in the Tanner's cheese studio. The cheese studio machinery pasteurizes more than 40 gallons of goat milk at a time.
You're going to hog it all, huh?
Meantime, the Tanners handle the care and feeding of their herd. Gail often walks around with a yellow wagon in tow.
Are you guys ready?
She puts out alfalfa hay, fills up feed bowls with grain, bottle feeds the kids, checks on the bucks across the creek, and with whatever time is left over, tends to the chickens.
A friend that came and visited who really wants to get away from her desk job and be a farmer, she says, maybe you just trade in one set of stresses for another.
But one role that doesn't stress her out is that of cheesemaker extraordinaire. She's become pretty good at whipping up batches of now award-winning goat's milk, feta, and raw milk cheeses.
This is what we look for, the magic clean break, they call it.
Using her cheese knife, Gail separates the curd from the liquidy substance known as whey. It begins to take on a cottage cheese look.
It's time-consuming, and patience is a cheesemaker's best friend.
With the whey removed, the curds will drain overnight. These tubs will eventually be packaged as feta cheese. Bonnie Blue Farm turns out more than a half-dozen products. They've become a favorite at area farmers markets, but Jim's marketing efforts have also produced a demand in Memphis and other parts of Tennessee.
Or I go to to demonstrate the cheese to a chef, and I'm thinking of 2 or 3 of them. So this is the best feta I ever had. Yeah, we've got to have this on our menu. And I mean, those are direct quotes.
Gail says the good feedback is a result of the work and care they put into their farm, their milk, and their cheese.
The Tanners are always adding on to their property, most of the time in an effort to create a better product. And this right here is their latest project. It's called a cheese cave. Now, it's still in the process of being built, but they had to blast a hole in the side of this hill to construct it.
Custom-sized rocks are still being laid, and the 3 walk-in coolers have yet to be finished. Fresh air will be pumped in, keeping the temperature at a cool 55 degrees, a perfect place to age Bonnie Blue's hard cheeses.
The environment that those cheeses are aged in will make them even better. I mean, they're pretty good already, but having that will really set them apart.
The Tanners joke if the cave doesn't work out, they'll simply live in it. They're fine with a modest rural Tennessee lifestyle, one they can share with their good-natured goats.
That's why our trees are all trimmed up so nice.
And that's going to do it for this time. Thanks for traveling the country with us on this edition of America's Heartland.